Colby Cox is used to missions. He was stationed at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia and flew a number all over the Middle East. Currently studying computer science at Columbia University, he opted to join the Israel Tech Mission, which just brought several dozen entrepreneurs and VCs to see what Israelis are enduring. It was Colby's first time in Israel, and he summed it up.
It's a duality, really, because you want to continue the spirit of innovation and you want to lead as normal a life as possible, but you also understand the severity of what's going on around you. Israel is fighting a war on 7 different fronts, and so it's a complex set of issues that are going on, but it gives me hope, and inspiration to see people trying to lead as normal lives as they possibly can.
For David Siegel, who just led the third group of executives to the Jewish state, he was astonished to see the war dragging on.
I'm shocked. Have a son that just went into Gaza yesterday. I thought that when he finally came out of his training, we would be out of the war. I don't know when it's going to end. I also thought that it would be a lot easier to be able to bring tech executives to Israel 6 months, a year after October 7th. And this past trip was the hardest time to bring people to Israel.
Some people had to take as many as 3 flights due to the scarcity of flights, and the costs were beyond reason.
They paid $6,000, $7,000 in order to fly to Israel. That's a commitment. 110
different tech executives have come so far. Siegel's goal is to raise up the high-tech industry.
Over $3 million of investment has gone into Israel, into Israeli startups, into Israeli VCs as a direct result of the mission. There are numerous startups that have actually contacted me, and they've told me that if the mission hadn't happened, then they would be out of business today.
The fast-paced packed tour included a stop at Google for Startups. Nathan Lowe, who has invested in 100 Israeli companies over the years, described how one company was triumphant despite the complexity of the war.
On my previous trip, just before the war began, I met a company that's here at Google for Startups that is revolutionizing mechanical design, and it takes away 80% of the boring time needed to design products like cars and planes and coffee makers and whatever. And the company went from 800 customers to 18,000 customers during the war without the employees being in the office.
So the war was a game changer?
Well, they may have had more customers if they'd been in the office, but they were able to grow tremendously during the war, even though they weren't in the office. It's a self-service platform for automated design. It's a large mechanical model as opposed to a large language model.
The startup success within 1 year, which Nathan described, was co-founded by Maor.
Like hundreds of thousands of Israelis, I had the privilege to serve as a reservist since October 8th, so several hundreds of days. In parallel, I'm trying to keep our startup up and running, and thank God and thank our people and fantastic partners and employees. We grew from 800 users to 18,000 users within the last year.
Nathan sees a huge opportunity for the VC market at this moment.
That because other people aren't coming, we 44 people here on this trip have our pick of the Israeli companies. There are 9,000 companies here. Some of them are extraordinary. We get to meet the extraordinary ones, and there's nobody competing with us for our checks. So unlike Silicon Valley, unlike New York, unlike other places in the world, one is able to have a better pick at lower valuations of better companies.
The forecast for the return on investment is bright.
When this cohort of companies starts to outperform 3 and 4 years from now, and the venture capital returns are better here than they are in Silicon Valley, more money will flow here.
Some of Israel's leading tech, business, and media stars addressed the group. It included Chemi Perez, co-founder and partner of Pitango VC, Dana Azrieli, chairman of the board of directors of the Azrieli Group, Avi Yisacharov, creator of the TV series Fada, and Elon Levy, former Israeli international spokesman.
We had to create the state with our brain power. I think Israel is the only country in the world that was built not out of the land, but out of the mind. And that is what makes Israel so special and so unique.
Israel is the democratic nation state of the Jewish people, and we are here to stay. Tell them that you support Zionism. Tell them that there can be no hesitation. There can be no wishy-washy, no hemming, no hawing in this conversation. Anything less than absolute clarity on the legitimacy of Israel creates a crack of doubt which contributes to the delegitimization of the Zionist narrative that has become normalized since October 7th.
Participants in this tech mission come from various backgrounds. Some are not newcomers to Israel. Jay Hakami, for example, served in the Israeli army in Gaza and Lebanon.
So I'm no stranger to Israel. I come here every year, friends and family. The change that I've seen since October 7th was obviously rattled every inch in my body.
Jay leads a company which provides insights for brands while they collect data from retailers around the world.
I think it's very important for people like me, or Jews or non-Jews, doesn't make any difference, to state the facts, to show others what is really going on, to talk about the history, which I think a lot of youngsters are misunderstanding or not really into. And I think it's very important. The message and the narrative has to really, and not that you're going to persuade some people, but at least have that conversation and make them think.
Lisa Schneider, who has a daughter who studied in Israel this past year, felt it was also about gaining the tools to respond to what is happening since October 7th.
I think all of the ammunition that those of us who want to advocate for Israel, all of the ammunition that we can get to keep having those conversations, backed by facts, and really understanding the situation on the ground and saying, I was there, I've talked to people, I've seen this, is really powerful.
For another first-time exec coming to Israel, this experience went beyond his expectations.
I spent an hour last night at the Air Force Base talking with two 21-year-old Air Force pilots, and we went deep. These are people I've never met before, but by the end of the hour, I put my arm around, and they put their arm around me, and we said that we were brothers. That experience I'll never forget for the rest of my life, meeting those two wonderful and incredibly impressive 21-year-old people, and I think of them as a peer.
The day ended at a local hip restaurant as VC companies were speed dating with some of the top experts in the financial world.
You have to spend weeks and months with each VC, and they're not so sure, and all this stuff. And here in Tel Aviv, it's just been instantly appreciated that we came. There's a big opportunity here. With the AI revolution, we're going to see 10 to 25% of global GDP migrating to tech. That's 10 to 20 trillion dollars is up in the air. And Israel actually is incredibly well situated to be a part of that. I know I made the right decision to come, but it really reinforced the fact that Israel is a leader in technology.
The Israel Tech Mission has officially established itself as a not-for-profit. Siegel says 60% of the funding comes from past participants. It is in demand.
We already have 6 missions planned. That's right, 6 different missions. We have a women in tech mission planned, which is obviously for women tech leaders, so important. We have a fintech trip planned. We have an automation and robotics trip planned. 60% of the funding comes from past participants, which says a lot. The experience that they had and the experience they want others to have.
The venture capital world meets the tech world here in Israel. Many deals are in the making as the war continues. From Tel Aviv, Felice Friedson reporting for the Media Line.